Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Launch and Learn series. Tonight, we're going to be covering working as a Salesforce administrator, and we're going to be going live into a project, which is a telecom billing app project. Okay. Tonight's session is very important because it's kind of like gives an overview of what you need to know as a Salesforce administrator. For instance, you're going to be covering the object modeling, you're going to be creating fields, you're going to be creating report and dashboard, you're going to be creating automation. So everything you need to know as a Salesforce administrator. This is the beginning of our special edition of the Launch and Learn series that focuses on what profession or what career path you should choose. Okay. It's very important because a lot of people are getting into the ecosystem and some people need to know exactly which career path is the right one for them. Yes, sometimes it can be very intimidating getting into an ecosystem. And the next thing is you're being thrown business analyst, Salesforce administrator, Salesforce consultant, developer, technical parts, and the likes, right? So this Launch and Learn series will give you an idea, and hopefully before the mid of next month, you should be able to make that decision. So without wasting much of your time, I'm going to be going through the project which you're going to be working on, or we'll be working on together tonight, okay? So this is a very typical project at Blackforce. It's been one of the projects that reinforces your Salesforce administrator knowledge, but more importantly, it covers some of the things that you need to know, or I would say things that will get you started. Okay, so if you're a member of the cohort 9, or if you're a CPD member, or if you're part of the youth training, you should have a copy of this project. Okay. This is not your individual project. Your individual project has been sent to you by the admin. However, this is the project for Launch and Learn. If you're not a member of Blackforce, if you're not a member of Cohort 9, if you're not a member of CPD, if you're not an African youth part of this cohort, we are going to show you after the end of this presentation or this workshop how you can also have access to this, okay? I know that we've been saying that ever since, but we have a system in place that can now bring you into the Blackforce family, even if you're not a member of the cohort, okay? But don't let us get distracted with that for now. Let's focus on the project. So now, the Blackforce Salesforce Admin Launch and Learn project. And tonight, we're going to be working on the billing system of a telecom app. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so that you can read carefully. We're going to read through the problem statements. We're going to read through the task that we've been asked to work on, and we're going to go straight right in. I'm hoping that we should finish in 2 hours or less, but it's an interesting project because it gives you everything. So if Salesforce is actually a passion of yours, I would encourage you to stay till the end because everything you learn today, you will see it on the job as a Salesforce admin. Okay. So now, what's the introduction? You have just been hired as a Salesforce administrator at Manifest and Company Inc., working with one of its new clients, Africom, a telecom company based in Johannesburg, South Africa. As a new hire, you're responsible for setting up the Salesforce org, migrating legacy data, and driving user adoption by leveraging insight from reports and dashboard. Additionally, Africom has requested that you set up a billing application within their newly implemented Salesforce org. This is a key project that will determine your permanent position in the company. Problem statement. The finance head of global communication has tasked you with developing an application to calculate, okay? So when you get a project like this, typically you want to underline the key things in that project. You want to underline the key things to calculate. That's the key thing. So if I had this printed in a paper, I would be underlining calculate, okay? Mobile and internet bills for Africom success customers. Currently, customer data is maintained in an Excel sheet. However, with the customer base growing to 3 million, managing this data in Excel has become impractical. The application you develop should efficiently calculate customer bills based on their usage and rental plans. Send automated emails to customers when the bill is due. customers should be able to pay for their bill using Stripe payment gateway. Okay, analysis. So when you get a project like this, typically an architect would have designed the solution. Okay, an architect, a solution architect would have designed a solution. At some point in our Launch and Learn series, you'll learn who a solution architect is and how you can get there. Okay, a solution architect has two options. The solution architect would give it to a consultant. Typically, they call them implementation consultants. Implementation consultant will now implement this solution, okay? However, if the solution is not too technical, okay? If the solution is not too technical, then an admin should be able to implement the solution. So what do I mean by that? This solution is prepared from a technical point of view, and it has been designed that an administrator should be able to implement this. Okay? So if you're working on the job and you're given this project, know that you're not the one doing the analysis. You are not the one doing the analysis. You'll be given black and white instruction what to do. So don't expect to think for the business. But obviously the problem statement kind of like make it a bit interesting for you to think a little bit, okay? But don't expect to do the analysis. The technical architect, solution architect, or whoever the application architect is would have designed and done the analysis and just create a spreadsheet for you to follow instructions step by step. So that's what you're going to be getting tonight. So now, you analyze the problem. The company offers telecommunication services to mobile and internet users. Consequently, the application to be designed needs to be stored in a customer information. Why? Because you need to keep customer information. There is difference between accounts, contacts, leads, opportunities. Those are also a way to keep customer information. But for this particular project, we are assuming that customer is not really an account. Customer is not coming from a lead. Customer is a customer you're bringing into the system, okay? Then there's what they call the rental plan. You know, when you have a mobile phone, billing system and you're under contract, you need to subscribe to a plan, right? So that plan is called a rental plan. You need to think about it because a rental plan is something you have to store for a customer. So you need to relate a customer and rental plan together, but we're going to get there. Then you have the billing. What is the billing? The billing is when someone uses their phone or when the customers use their phone to make a call, there's a charge to it. So the billing is a charge. However, because we have different types of billing, such as mobile, internet, SMS, then you have what they call the billing item. Billing item is the item of a particular billing set, okay? Now that you have that information, what are the things that you need to think about? When you're doing this kind of stuff, you need to think about the objects. Objects are like table, database, where you store the information, okay? So you have what they call the customer information object. So customer objects that you can store the name, the phone, and email. Again, don't think about this like something that you're just getting to see or something that you have to do as an admin. As an admin, you have to follow instruction. So all these are instruction that has been created for you to follow, okay? Rental plan details such as rate of calls, SMS, and internet. Billing information such as the total number of calls made, the total number of messages sent, total number of amount of internet data used, and the billing item, which is summarizing the billing information. Okay? So now, the key thing you want to work on is the data model. As an admin, you're more likely going to have what I call a very simple data models to work on. You're not going to get anything technical. You're not going to get anything like maybe junction object or some complex data model. What do I mean by data model? Data model is just a connection between two objects. You can either have one simple object that is not connected. It's still a model, but it's just a way to collect the information. Then you have another object that is connecting your first object together. For instance, you have a customer, you have the rental plan. So the customer is connecting the rental plan, and you can now get the rental plan for a customer by looking at the data model connecting them together. So for this particular project, we have 4 custom objects. Okay? 4 custom objects, which is the plan, the customer, the bill, and the bill item. So as an admin, you'll be given instruction, clear instruction, create the plan custom object. So I'm going to go to the hands-on hub, which I've created a billing app, and I'm just going to go straight right in. Okay. And I'm checking to see no plan objects. Okay. So we have to create a plan object. Remember, the first thing I did was check if there's a plan object. If there is no plan object, then you can create a plan object. If there are plans object, then you don't have to create a new object if an existing object has been created or exists in the system. You can leverage it. However, if there are some standard objects, right? And those standard objects are used or tied down to other objects, you might want to create a custom object for it. Okay? But then again, as an admin, that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to follow the instruction. What does the instruction say? Create 4 custom objects, period. Okay? So we're going to create a plan object. Okay? If you can finish this project, you'll be in a good shape to do any admin related task. Not just that, your individual projects, which you've been given, and you'll be confident enough to face any interviews that is admin related. Remember, the goal of the Launch and Learn series is to build you up to decide which career path to choose, not for you to see another project. Yes, some of you guys, it's an opportunity for you to experience another project in Salesforce, which is fine, but the goal is for you to choose, what do I really want to do with Salesforce? Okay, plan. If you have a plural, you call it plans. Then, remember, you need to build insights. If you want to build insights, you need to enable reports. Because if you don't enable reports, you'll not be able to see the reports and dashboard. Okay? You'll not be able to see the reports and dashboard on the menu for that object. So for that object, you'll not be able to create reports and dashboard. So you need to select reports. Allow activities. By default, standard Salesforce objects, they come with activities, okay? Standard Salesforce object like this, for instance, account, there's activity. This is an activity. An activity gives you ability to send email, ability to send, log a phone call, ability to do whatever things you need to do, but to create a new task and the likes. However, if you're creating a custom object, you have to decide yourself. You have to decide yourself what kind of custom objects you want to create. Track field history. If plans are going to be changing, then you need to enable track field history. But in my own opinion, I don't think you need it. Then you select allow search. Allow search enables you to search for something like this. So if you don't select allow search, the object will not appear for you to search. Okay? So you select allow search and add notes and attachments. Add notes and attachments. If you go to your object, you see notes and attachments here. By standard, you get it out of the box for standard objects. But for custom objects, you have to specifically demand it. Okay. So now the last one is launch new custom tab wizard. So when you're creating object, you have to create fields to complement that object. That's what they call the model. You're creating a table, you're creating a field inside the table, right? So now, if you click on launch new custom tab wizard, then it's going to take you to a different page after you create. But because we want to create all our custom objects, then I don't want to create one at a time. I want to just create all the custom objects. Okay, so I'll just say save new. Then I'll go to the customer. Remember, there could be a standard customer in Salesforce. However, if the requirement from the architects asks you to create a custom object, then there must have been a business reason or justification for that. So don't say because there's a standard object, I'm going to use standard object. No, follow the instruction of the architect. As an admin, you have to follow the instruction of the architect. As an architect, you have to think critically at why you need to use a custom object over a standard object. But an admin, that's not your responsibility. So this is the hardest of all possible admin-related tasks you will have. Because normally admin will be editing object as opposed to creating it. But now you're creating it, which shows you that you're not just an admin, you're an advanced admin. Okay? Now you have the customer. If it's a plural, you call it customers. If it's a plural, you call it customers. Reason being that if you go to the front end, you see leads, task, dashboards, reports. Can you see the S? Okay? Opportunities. Imagine it was opportunity ending with Y and S. It doesn't make sense, right? So Salesforce is telling you that if it's a plural, how should you call it? If it's a vowel sound, if it starts with a vowel sound, you should check this box, because imagine you want to create an account and Salesforce is saying create a account. It doesn't make sense, right? So you need to select anything that has a vowel sound in front of it, okay? Again, same applies to your second object. Allow is up to you. But why is track field history important in customer and not important in plan? Plan is a generic object. A customer would have a plan. But if a customer changes the plan, if a customer should change their plan, you want to track the previous plan of that customer. That's the benefit of track field history in customer. But track field history in plan doesn't change. Perhaps the only reason why you want to track field history in plan is because you want to change, or you want to track the previous price of that plan. Maybe they've increased the price of the plan. Then you want to track the previous price of that plan. You want to track the new price of the plan. So that's one of the use case of track field history. When things are changing, who is making those changes? You want to track it, okay? Then you have allow search again to enable you search right from the interface here. Then you have add notes and launch new custom, but I wouldn't do that. I'll go to the next object, which is the bill object. Okay, I'm going to be very fast, but I'll make sure that everything I'm doing is self-explanatory, and where I feel you need extra explanation, I'm going to explain those bits, okay? Then I'm going to create bill item. So now, some of you will be wondering, what is bill? What is the difference between the bill and bill item? So bill items is accumulation. When you're doing master detail relationship, you have what they call a roll-up summary. So bill items are the items of a bill. You have a bill for month April. You have a bill for month March. You have a bill for month December. Bill items are the call logs for the month. On day one, you make a call so day. They charge so amount. That's the item of that bill. Okay? That's what bill item is. I hope that makes sense. So now that I've created all the 4 objects, okay, I've created all the 4 objects, I can now start building my model. So now let's go to the plan objects. Remember, if you're a Cohort 9 member, if you're a CPD member, and if you're the African Youth member for Cohort 9, you should have gotten this comprehensive project for you to work along with me. If you haven't, you'll get it, okay? But if you're not an associate of Blackforce, I will introduce it at the end of the presentation, how you can also be part of this, okay?